Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel show, Culty. It's the show where I drink beverages with you and we talk about cults. Today we're going to be talking about Gadgetology, a cult based around the cartoon character Gadget Hackwrench from the show Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. Just as a disclaimer, I'm doing this video for educational and entertainment purposes. I don't mean to insult anybody that I speak about, not that there's really anybody specific in this video that's mentioned, but I don't know, we'll get into it. As far as cults go, this group is pretty benign. They haven't done any crimes or anything even remotely morally gray. I'm actually pretty sure they're not even still active online. Before we get too deep into information about this cult is likely a big meme. Most people think that online, and they're probably right, but that doesn't make it any less valid, and I'll get into that in a minute. During this time on the internet, 2009, 2010, it was very popular to make fun of mainstream religions by making up your own, like the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster, if you remember that one. But on the off chance that somebody out there has found true peace in inner meaning for themselves through the cult of Gadget Hackwrench, I'm not going to make fun of that. I'm going to try and approach this as respectfully as possible. I just don't want to shame anyone for what makes them happy, So just remember, before you judge, we're here to drink, not to think. I should maybe start doing iced tea because it's starting to be summer here in Texas. It's already so hot, but I got my beverage and here's yours. So today we're going to be talking about Gadgetology. It's a cult that was based around the cartoon character Gadget Hackwrench from the show Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. If you were a kid in the 90s, you may remember this show. It aired on the Castle Rat channel. The idea is that chipmunk brothers Chip and Dale would get into wacky hijinks and go on adventures, and with the help of their friends, they would save the day and do general cute kid show stuff. It aired from 1989 to 1990 and had 65 episodes. Which back in the day for a Castle Rat channel cartoon, that's not a super good run. I don't think it was that popular. But strikingly enough, the show did have a fan base on what was the beginnings of the internet, and they all came together for their love of one character who was Gadget Hackwrench. So Gadget Hackwrench as a character in the show was the token girl character, and she was super smart, had a can-do attitude, was a love interest for both of the main characters, Chip and Dale, and she often was the one that had all of the solutions for all the characters' problems in the show. And I think that's why she ended up becoming so popular. So the cult supposedly began in a city called Nizhny Novgorod in Russia, and it started because everybody that was a fan in this town just really liked Gadget as a character. Apparently, she was actually a genuinely loved character in general in Russia. I read a comment from a Russian Reddit user, and I've got it right here. It says, she embodied the ideal woman. If you're a girl and you look fine and you have half the features Gadget has, a positive mindset, willpower, team player attitude, you'll be extremely popular among Russian men born in the late 80s to the mid 2000s. I don't really know how accurate that is. I don't think I actually know any men who fit that demographic. Are you a Russian male born in the late 80s to mid 2000s? Let me know. How do you feel about Gadget Hackwrench? So the cult first gathered together with the idea that they were all despondent over the fact that they would never get to meet Gadget in real life, what with her being a cartoon character and all. And so they decided that if they all worship together hard enough, believe strongly enough, that Gadget will manifest herself physically in our reality. So this is based off of the idea that the collaborative consciousness of many people working towards one goal, like wishing for Gadget to be real, will make whatever their goal is come true. And this isn't a super unique idea. This is actually present in a lot of belief systems. And if you want to look into that more, I could do a whole other video on it. It's called the Philip experiment, or the Philip phenomenon is a great place to start. The followers of Gadgetology appear to communicate with one another primarily through the internet, so it could be categorized as an internet cult, which is a real thing, but they have organized one confirmed meeting in person as well. The followers celebrate her birthday, sing songs, and give her offerings, such as food or flowers. They even put stickers or flyers up around the town Nizhny Novgorod in her honor. Gadgetology, while it seems to be more of a surface level kind of meme, it does have layers. There are levels of Gadgetology. It starts with traditional Gadgetology, where the followers will pray to Gadget and do good deeds in her name. Then there's progressive Gadgetology, which concentrates more on personal moral growth. The idea is that you want to emulate Gadget's friends, Monterey Jack, Chip, Dale, and Zipper, and you want to oppose injustice and help others. Finally, in the third layer, there's Apocalyptic Gadgetology, which means that Gadget could bring about the end of the world as an act of salvation. There's actually also a separate heretic sect of the cult that believes that Gadget's arrival in our world, in our physical realm, will awaken Cthulhu, thus bringing about the end of the world. So let's get into some of the core beliefs of this cult. There's kind of a handful of them, but I'm just gonna kind of pick out the best ones that'll help you get an overall understanding of what they were about. Let's start with the idea that the cult was really hoping for a second rerun of the show, what they called the second coming of Gadget. But with the advent of online streaming and watching shows online, that one kind of died out a little bit. Another idea that's also present in most religions is the concept of good and evil. Gadget represents everything that is good in the world, and the show's antagonist, Fat Cat, represents all that's evil. And okay, so I know I said we weren't going to laugh and we're not going to judge, but this next part actually does kind of get me a little bit. I think it's kind of funny. Good believers are said to ascend to Gadgetice, and all of the sinners will go to Fat Cat Hell. All one word. The next teaching is that Gadget exists in a world that's similar to our own, but she is among other godlike beings who have just as much power as her. So I guess it's like a god realm. Gadget's powers allow her to appear in front of her followers in any form that she wishes. You know, like a bird or like an old lady or whatever, and her followers should never be swayed by sin, lest she be watching. Another belief is that Gadget created the world with the power of her love. And yet another belief is that if her fans forget her, she will die. Does that mean I'm like doing good work for Gadgetology right now? Like I'm talking about her. Does that mean I have like Gadgetology street cred? She owes me. Creating fan art of her also seems to be pretty important to the cult, and there does seem to actually be a loose set of rules surrounding this. Like they said that there can't be nothing naughty. Like there's no naughty art allowed. Like you have to present Gadget in only the nicest of ways, and the art has to be like good, and you can't present her in a naughty format. I mean, I guess, right? I mean, she's considered their god, so sure. So while I couldn't find the cult's original website, I did actually find a blog post that was in Russian that I translated, and I got a few good quotes that sounded about right. They say, "She is a divine creation, untouched and perfect in its primordial nature. She is direct, determined, optimistic, and the level of her technical skills is unattainable for a mortal. There is no reason not to worship her." Besides the beliefs that they hold, they also actually tried to build a temple to her in Nizhny Novgorod. I've butchered the name of that town like 3 times, please forgive me. But besides the beliefs they hold, they had actually planned on building a small temple. Well, I say small, it was actually planned to be pretty big from what I understood, but regardless, building a temple takes money, which the cult didn't really have. One of the main moderators of the Gadgetology website, the Russian one that I can't find, apparently also uploaded a series of lectures about Gadgetology, and I'm so bummed that I couldn't find them. So we know now that the cult is likely a comedic response to major religions, but what about the cult episode of the show? I didn't remember this episode until I did my research, but I mean, it existed. There's a cult in one episode of the show that is centered around a soda brand. It's fake, of course. It's called Cuckoo Cola. So the premise of this episode is that Gadget's been feeling sad because her inventions haven't been working out lately, and because she's feeling vulnerable, she gets looped into this cult. This episode shows mice followers getting the same haircut, wearing the same clothes, and getting baptized in Cuckoo Cola. There's also a mention of a wealthy side character whose name escapes me, but he ends up giving all of his riches to join this group. So there is speculation that this episode of Chip and Dale was inspired by the Rajneesh of Oregon. It was a cult who conducted a bioterror attack in Oregon in 1984. In this episode of the show, they had the followers of this cult, the mice, wearing the same colors as the Rajneeshis, and there was even an attempt to seize power by the cult leader's right-hand man. If you've seen the Netflix docuseries Wild Wild Country, this is probably starting to sound all too similar. But the fact remains that this bioterror attack only occurred 5 years before the airing of this show. The Rajneeshis were still present in America's mind. And honestly, whether or not it was actually inspired by the Rajneeshis, the similarities are still there. This is a kids show, and yet they added in so many specific things that I feel like if you were writing something about a cult, you might not really be privy to. Like the whole thing about where that one character gave up all of his money to join the cult, and not knowing what was happening to the money. There was that whole thing where they got Gadget to join them because she was feeling emotionally vulnerable, and that's how they would find new members in this cartoon, is they would look for people who were feeling vulnerable. There are also lines that are said in this episode that really stuck out to me that make me wonder how in-depth they really thought about this storyline. Things like, "You tricked all of the poor mice who just wanted to belong, and what about the members of the Cola cult who really believe?" I don't know what the American public thought about at the time in 1984 when all of the Rajneeshi cult drama went down, but what about all the people who just wanted someplace to belong and people to get along with and something to believe in? What about their feelings? I know we're getting kind of off track here, but I just found that all to be too interesting not to mention. So, all in all, Gadgetology was a way for people to connect with each other. Is it a big meme? Probably, but I can't deny the connections that other people made with each other at the time. Gadgetology is actually an example that's used in the Wikipedia article for parody religion. A parody religion is defined as a belief system that challenges the spiritual convictions of others, often through humor and satire. Some parody religions emphasize having fun. The new faith may serve as a convenient excuse for pleasant social interaction among the like-minded. So even if it's not an actual belief system, it is a way that people have connected with others, and I think that's important. So this video was likely too far of a deep dive into a 90s kids cartoon, but I had a lot of fun looking this up, and I hope you had a lot of fun hearing about it. As usual, I'll be uploading again next Monday, 10 a.m. Central, I think? Central. Yeah. Do you guys have any other cults or anything spooky or true crimey that you want me to cover? Give me some suggestions. I'll see you again next week, okay guys? Bye!